skip a little bit. I think
So he's running for president or something?
yeah, he's running for president.
Oh, shoot.
Well, I'm running as an America First mega guy, and we have an America First mega guy running, obviously.
America First MAGA?
Mega. He said mega,
Mega
right?
guy?
Mega.
What's a mega?
So the question is, what do you bring to the table?
You said MAGA.
MAGA.
Okay.
Oh, he's MAGA with the red hats. Make America great again.
Trump America.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember I
The
told you
answer
he's a.
is I bring a lot of
That's
issues
Larry
to the
Elder.
table that I feel our side is not talking enough about, if at all. For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic, not of COVID, but of fatherlessness.
Mm-hmm.
70% of black kids today in the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What's happening?
All right. So
in the
wait.
mid-60s,
He mentioned 5 times, 9 times, 20 times. I don't know if those facts are real or not, but I could tell you right now that I believe what he said. What he's saying has truth because a father needs to be in the motherfucking home, bro. Like, and the absence of fathers is a problem in the black community, bro.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay,
far.
so far you got that right.
Yes.
You're good. So everything's clear so
so far I'm good. I agree.
Okay,
with
cool.
him.
No. I'm just. This
Yeah.
is Larry Elder. You know,
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying.
I don't even know who Larry Elder
Yeah,
is.
that's what I'm saying. So
mind you,
I'm
guys,
not adding
I don't
no
know
bias
shit
here.
about politics. I'm not a political. I'm not a
adding-
politic. Neither should y'all be. Everybody in this country should be an independent. But that's just that.
But just you're gonna see the heat later. Like there's a woman there too. So just we're good now. Continue.
So with, I think, the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. You know, when I say this to people,
Do you understand that?
I don't agree with. I agree with the first part, not the second.
Okay. He's gonna go
Incentivizing-
into it. So he's
You incentivize women to join
so
the government.
he's talking about Lyndon Johnson passed
I know.
the social workers program.
I know
and,
about that.
And he's
women going on the county
Yeah.
in Section 8 and all
Right,
that.
yeah.
And then he said you incentivize the men
to abandon their
responsibility.
He's gonna
Where
explain
you gonna
that.
prove that? Where's that?
Wait. He's okay. Stop. He's gonna keep going.
Okay.
the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo.
I agree with that.
Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male.
Yep.
Same demo for whites, the number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents,
Yeah.
drownings. It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause.
So for white people, there are 3 main other causes that end their lives, but it's the number one cause for black kids. I get that.
In America, 60%
Murder.
of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people, often against other black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism, this is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of '64, KKK was still alive and well, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism.
It's the family household.
That's what
It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with
For the,
so far.
no
so good.
family, godless households. Yeah.
the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy. Nobody's talking about that. I am.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
As I said, it's because in the mid-'60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. In Charlamagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this, advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government.
Get the freak out of here.
That's
and
what
that's
he
where
believes.
his bullshit starts. So you're mean to tell me people knocking on doors saying, leave your man, join welfare. Yeah,
It is
we'll
his
take
fault.
care of you. Get the freak out of here with
bullshit.
that. See,
That's
that's
what
the
he
bullshit,
believes.
right?
Okay, so
see,
you're getting that.
systemic racism was a thing.
Oh, we ain't
black
got,
men.
Oh, we ain't even got the.
This
Jody,
government
keep
got
going.
rid of the black man in the motherfucking house, my nigga.
Jody, keep going. Joe, we ain't even
For
got
sure.
there yet.
See, I
We ain't-
agree
but
with
I'm just
everything he
trying
said,
to-
except
okay,
this
that's what I'm
shit.
saying.
that,
So
yeah.
that's
See,
that's what I told you.
That's where
earlier.
you got to be like,
Knock on the
You
door.
got to learn how to
Yeah,
think
what
for
the
yourself
fuck?
because
Thinking for
he's
yourself.
making great points,
Yes.
but that shit he just said. So keep going. It's gonna get worse. It's about to get worse.
Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data, 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia, a young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home married to the mother than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Owen?
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't.
this nigga's trash for that. See? Charlamagne, W, Larry L right now. Like, systemic racism, he's saying it never existed.
No,
Like, I can understand
that-
the argument that it doesn't exist now.
That's what he's saying.
But he's saying it didn't even
But
exist
he's
back
gonna-
then.
Just keep going.
Don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe this?
No, there used to be, obviously.
Oh.
Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's
Jail
so
system.
many.
Just give me the most important one.
Jails.
You think?
At the top of mind, I'd probably maybe say mass incarceration. Maybe.
Really? During the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family.
Yeah.
There's a direct.
I'm not going to.
Yes.
I agree with the family part.
He just gave you an example of systemic racism where privately owned investors are investing into keeping people in jail. And it's mostly black people. And the cops and all that shit. The jail system. If it's economically incentivizing white investors and different color investors to keeping black people in jail, bro.
black man who is the father to his children, and I'm
Right.
a happily married
Right.
black man to a black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part, you know. But I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this and black people do that. And when I ask you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking about the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the black community. For example, look at these smash and grabs that are taking place in Los Angeles, where I live. There's a suburb called Glendale, where at a mall recently, a mob of 30 to 40 people, they had masks on, but one guy got popped. He was black, and I think most of those who were doing this were black. And in recent years and times, there have been a number of these in places like Chicago, places like New York. If I were involved in something like that, Charlamagne, I grew up with a dad, just as you're raising your own children. I would have been more afraid of my father than I would about the cops catching me. These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're pulling back. Their manpower is short.
That's powerful.
Yeah, see,
These kids are afraid of neither. I ain't got a daddy.
yeah,
Freak the police. I ain't got a daddy because I ain't got a daddy. Why fear what I ain't got? And then with social media's help, F the police.
Right.
George Floyd, F the police. So you're right.
You're being incentivized to.
These little niggas, bro, they ain't got shit, bro. You're right.
And as a result,
right.
you tell a bad guy you're less likely to be caught, convicted, incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid. When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a black president, let alone re-elected a black president. The three biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, LA. They all have black mayors, even though no city has a majority of black population. The president of Harvard is a black female. Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlamagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of '64 got passed. And he said, I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2 years. Why, if things keep going like this, we could have a black president in about 40 years' time. Do the math. Right on cue, Barack Obama elected 2008. He didn't say there'll be a black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of black people in the population, and it does. He didn't say the 3 largest cities would have black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have 2 black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before. And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected. And we're still talking about systemic racism. It's not fair, it's wrong, and you're discouraging black people from working hard. 1990s.
Okay,
I agree with that.
Mr.
I
L.
agree with that. That's how my grandfather used to talk. I agree with that.
I do too.
But a lot of people are not gonna like
You
that.
agree, E-Man?
Yeah, I agree with it as well.
I think we're all coons now. Because if you
I
agree
get
with
what
that,
I get
they're going
what
to call
he's
you a
saying.
coon, right?
The-
Because a lot of niggas who don't want to hold themselves accountable are quick to call niggas who call out niggas coons. Rather than the real coons who are actually coons. You can't make yourself better as a people unless you highlight the problems that the people have
Malcolm X
to
said
fix
it.
them.
Malcolm X didn't look for white people for help. He said you got to look at ourselves. He held his own people accountable.
Yeah, Malcolm X had a lot of issues too, though, until he started to get enlightened towards the end. But then it became too late for him.
Elder, quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word
I don't care about her. What was going on?
system. To remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in
Where else,
charge of the
Keon?
system
Yo,
at the
okay.
time? The Democrats
can
at the
skip a little
time.
bit.
The system.
They cheered all
Got
of
it.
this.
Right, and what I'm asking was,
Not right
it
there.
white people, so I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system, or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black
So
family?
she's
It's a
stuck
simple,
on the
yes,
systematic
just a simple
racism
question,
part.
white or black?
Right.
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by
White
the
Democrats,
left.
correct? Okay. White Democrats,
well, most
correct?
black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people
Not
too.
voters, I said who's in charge of the
Who's in charge?
system?
Well, who puts
Who was
them,
in charge?
who puts them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson
Who puts
white
them-
or black?
Who put them in
And maybe
charge?
that'll help you.
Fine, Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay. But if
Charlamagne.
your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I
No.
disagree. He did it because of
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question. Was he white or black?
That's my argument. I think most people in 1950 were racist. Even the ones who said that, even the ones that weren't blatantly racist in 1950,
So they wasn't. They still were.
they were still
racist.
racist. By 2023 standards, they racist.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that most white people walking this country in 1950,
No, probably a good
walking
80%
the
of
United
them.
States of America,
80%.
thought they were superior to black people.
80%. They were taught to be better. That's how they were
Yeah,
taught.
I just think that
White
that's
people
just how
are
it is.
filth. They're nothing. It was-
Black. Charlamagne?
And you know, Mr. Elder, you said you talked about the smash and grabs, right? And I find that interesting because, you know, when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white males. What do you think about that?
Actually, if you look at the percentage of whites in America, which is 60%, percentage of mass shooters is under that. The percentage of people that commit hate crime is under that. The percentage
So?
of people who are serial killers is under that. Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that
But no,
of
you
mass
specifically
shootings.
talked about the smash and grabs, though. So I was saying, since you're using that as an example, I'm saying, well, what about
Yeah.
you know, the mass shooters that are usually
One-
white males?
One more time. They are usually
into the
white
schools
males
and
because
killing other
60% of the
kids.
country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. About 50% or so of the mass shootings in this country are committed by white people, even though white people are 60% of the population.
So?
They underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings,
You see
when it
that?
comes
There
to
we
serial.
go. Here we
They
go.
on
Now,
that
there
bullshit
we go.
again.
More bullshit going on here, right? Like, so he's trying to tear down what he's saying. Like, yo, yeah, father out the house, but white people, they doing mass shootings. Where's they daddy? What's going on with them? What's their situation? And then he's coming. Yes, I agree. And that's what a lot of people don't
See,
understand.
yeah, they don't know
There's
how to-
so few black people in this country, but nigga, we represent this much of the country, and we do this much crime.
That's
Like imagine a pinto bean, a dry pinto bean. Just put it on the table. The dry pinto bean, littlest shit, but put that pinto bean inside of a bathtub. The pinto bean represents the amount of people. The bathtub is the amount of crime that freaking pinto bean makes. Us as a black people, we do more crime, murders, as if we are the dominant race of this country. But then only when you start to look
Look closer.
at dang, there's only like couple tens of millions of black people in this whole goddamn country.
About 30 million, maybe.
Like, what is going on?
There's 200 million people that live here.
Almost 400 million people here, and we probably got maybe 100 million.
Yeah,
maybe less than 100 million of them that are black. So I'm thinking, like, dang, why are we doing so much of the crime then?
It goes back to his point.
He's full of shit, but he's also right when he says it's about the family. It's the family being destroyed, bro. So I don't knock him for that. What else?
Real killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of violent crime, we overrepresent.
So what do white people do wrong?
See,
I'm gonna keep asking you that because I want.
Well,
like,
it seems to me rather than deal with what's going on, the pathology.
I'll answer that because I talk about it on my channel. When I want to have a good time and be safe for my life, I go to a white neighborhood. When I want to go watch a movie and not be interrupted and hear ringtones go off in drama and a lot of loud-ass kids who don't listen to their mama telling them to be quiet, I go to white neighborhoods. When I want to take a walk past midnight to get some cardio in, you can tell I get a lot of it in. I like to go to the white neighborhoods. Whenever I want some delicious produce, man, like not food for less.
Good cut.
I'm talking about that good produce, nigga. They ain't got flies on that shit, my nigga. That ain't got freaking snot nose on it and been all over the floor because the kids throwing shit everywhere. I go to a good neighborhood, my nigga. Basically, I go to the white neighborhoods whenever I want a good quality of life, where crime is less likely to be committed upon me and my family. When I'm around white people, for the most part, when I'm around white people, I feel safe. When I get around a lot of niggas, I don't feel safe. Because I know at any minute something could go down. I know that if I so happen to get into an argument in a nice neighborhood with white people, I know that the likelihood of that argument or disagreement going to violence is almost nil. But I know that if I'm in the hood and I get an argument with somebody stepping on my shoes, cut me in line at the Louisiana Chicken, somebody who freaking, if they kid touched my kid or my kid touched their kid, if I cut them off in traffic and then we meeting in the parking lot so they can tell me how I cut them off in traffic, it's going to be some violence because we, as a black people, don't mind getting violent. We solve our problems with violence. The first thing that a black man want to go to terms with in the first 5 sentences in a disagreement is catch my fade. What you gonna do about it? Do something.
I'll beat your
It's
ass.
ready to go to violence, my nigga. It's not no dialogue. It's not let's find out why we have a problem. Let's talk like men. It's what's happening.
Yeah.
Get into a disagreement with a black dude in a black area in a freaking hood and see how quickly that shit will escalate to what's up, nigga?
But can you say this though, that if black people have more opportunities as white people did and more welfare like white people did,
I see
we'll
black
have more
people,
opportunities.
I
They
see
wouldn't
black
be
people.
more
There's
violent
black
and
people.
more-
All right. So tell me why rich basketball players, rich rappers, and rich dope boys, all them niggas who are rich, who have nice houses, are still ghetto and violent. Why, when they get money, they still act like they're freaking from the hood and shit, and they're violent?
A lot of them pretend to be something that they're not.
Why do their kids act that way?
Yeah.
They raise their kids to
like
be
that.
that way. Little niggas in Beverly Hills, little
Banging.
niggas in West
Don't know
Hollywood
shit
trying to
about
act like cuz
it.
blood. Niggas trying to social media. There's a lot of freaking bullshit, bro. If what you say is true, that once they become rich and they don't have the issues of the poverty of the United States, they should be all fine and dandy, right? But no, their problems are withstanding from within.
I mean, a lot
It's
of
the
people.
family,
a lot
bro.
of people are a product of their environment as well too. Think about it. If you grew up in a different type of environment, you may not be a certain type of way like every other black person is. But because you was put into an environment that was where violence is, where drugs is, where was this, that's why you end up becoming a product of how you are.
Yes.
The way you pronounce things, the way you cooperate, the way you operate, period, is because of your environment. So no matter
The
what,
fact that you don't know what's right or wrong is your mama and your daddy fault. The fact that you as a kid, I don't care what hood, what poverty, I don't care where you live, nigga.
Right and wrong.
The fact that you don't know what's right or wrong and accountability is a failure on your parents. That's a family failure. You could be poor eating rice, nigga, but you could be well-mannered and know what's up. Your parents can teach you right from wrong. Most of these parents don't give a freak, bro.
I always say this, and I'll say this to everybody, most of the people I know. Not everybody is made to be a parent. Not everybody supposed to be parents, bro. Anybody can make a baby, but it take a lot to be a parent. And people are not. Some people just don't have it in them.
All right,
but
it is an excuse, but it's the truth. How can you be a parent if your parent wasn't a parent to you?
That's not
some people don't have that guidance
or
ideals.
The world still moves on.
My dad beat my mama, nigga. I don't beat my girl. I don't beat women. My dad was a woman beater. That means that I gotta be? You gotta break the cycle, dog, and stop making excuses.
Right.
That's the problem we got. We always trying to blame somebody.
That's what he's saying.
That's what he be saying here.
You're leaning into what he's saying.
We're looking for other people to bail us out. Your fault. I'm black.
Right.
I'm poor.
Right.
What the freak? Niggas is lazy, my nigga.
And it's okay to say that.
Niggas is lazy. They don't want to. Why you think Mexicans got the reputation? What's the reputation of a Mexican, man?
They'll take any job.
Hard working. Who got more houses in the hood? Mexicans or blacks? Mexicans, nigga. They band together, they work the bad jobs that niggas have too much pride for, and they freaking get a freaking mortgage. It might be 4, 5, 6 of them in the house, but they got a house, they got property, nigga.
50.
And a nigga sitting back on the county or making a little bullshit or not working at all. I ain't working that job, nigga. I ain't doing
just
that
selling
shit.
Drugs and just
bullshit. Bullshit. We rather sell drugs and hustle and try to get the bag in illegal ways than rather getting an honest job. That's us.
That's going on in the inner city. You want me to talk about how bad white people are,
No,
which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do.
Well, I think
I'm talking
there's a cause and effect, but if we can't talk about the cause, which I believe is systemic racism and white supremacy, the FBI.
Well, I just told you, if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of blacks.
You're not answering the question, you douchebag. Yes, you're right. All it means is that the family dynamic existing back there usurped systemic racism. And it's what I'm saying. Just like I'm telling you, you're hitting me with the poverty. All right, we're all poor at this family together, but I'm daddy, you're the son, that's the wife.
That's the
do
role.
what the freak I say. Now eat your cream of wheat. Yes, it's systemic racism. Yes, the race is upon me. I only make $6 an hour, but god dang it, boy, do your homework. Yeah. Respect your mama. Look after your little sister. Brush your teeth. Don't say that. Don't cuss. Boy, all that exists. Nigga, what you think Sanford and Son? Them niggas was broke. What are you talking about? All of a sudden, you can't be a family if you're poor. What is that? You gotta be rich to be a family in this motherfucker? What the heck? There's a lot of poor families out here with mothers, father, and they're raising their children right, bro. Yeah. That is an excuse that we use, bro. And that's what he's doing. But Charlamagne doesn't understand. He's not seeing that the family dynamic is usurping the systemic racism. Now that the family dynamic is gone, all we have now is systemic racism oppressing us. So they're both not wrong.
Under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
choice. But they still were living
below
the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
You're forgetting the fact that they were still living below the poverty line. You're picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward.
Well, can I just address that? In 1940, 87% of blacks.
I just hate ignorant people who don't understand. Bugs me. Why don't you understand what is being said here? Like, I can't see what the fuck is going on.
And the people are saying, oh yeah, that shit, bro. Like,
lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years. That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK imploded, well before we had race-based preferences. Why? Because it was rare for a black kid to be raised in a family without a father in the home. A strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlamagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted.
Black Lives Matter is trash, bro. 2 black lesbians scamming, buying houses in different continents, in Canada, in Middle America, Chicago. Black Lives Matter, its biggest failure was being ran by women. 2 black gay lesbian women, bro, using the money for LGBTQ purposes, bro. Black Lives Matter is trash, my nigga. It's all about money, bro. At the end of the day,
Everything's about money.
what the freak? Let me ask you, what do black bitches care about black men? What do black dykes care about a black man? How are you going to say Black Lives Matter? Black men are the ones being beat up by the police, and you don't love black men. Romantically, you're not even with black men. So the only way you can sympathize is if you have a black brother that you happen to love. But if you don't have a black brother, where's your black figure coming from? Daddy? Daddy ain't there. So how are 2 black lesbian dykes gonna really know what it's like to love a black man? These are the type of women that are running Black Lives Matter, my nigga. Black Lives Matter being ran by 2 lesbian dykes with LGBTQ houses, literally transitioning other black women.
Homes.
Nigga, this is the type of shit that makes us look bad, bro.
Wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship. All the things that made black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter.
All of those things have always been under attack by white supremacy. You can go back to things like whether it's the Tulsa race massacres. Like every time black people do create these systems that are our systems, and we
They gonna
are
shoot
the
that shit down,
entrepreneurs,
yep.
it seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
Every
Yep.
time, look, the Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt. It was not even called the Black
Was it rebuilt with all the same black people who were there before?
Wall Street until after it was rebuilt. And it was rebuilt, by the way, by black people without one dime of government money.
Yeah, but who destroyed it to begin with?
It was racists who destroyed it. No question about
Okay,
it.
what are you
We've
saying?
had race riots, but so have
So,
Japanese.
you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused,
You know,
Mr.
I
Elder.
never even came close.
You never said there wasn't racism, bitch. Like,
I never came
you tried
close.
to
I never came close to saying there was no
Trying
racism.
to
You
get
say
away
you don't
from
think it's
motherfucker, bro.
systemic
Yeah,
racism.
she just
Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something called
But that was the
Jim
system
Crow.
that destroyed black. Hold on, sir. That was
I'm
the
sorry?
system that destroyed. That was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants. Because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And then you move, and then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on. Do you believe?
how the freak can you say, knowing that freaking J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI,
yes.
with all of the transcripts and evidence that we have of him stalking
Martin
Malcolm
Luther
X,
King.
Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, every black leader to death. And we gonna say there ain't no systemic racism? That was in the 60s, homie. Oh, all of a sudden do we think that, oh, it's over in the 70s, it's gone. What the freak?
doesn't exist.
He's
both
both sides,
sides
but
are
he
tripping.
tripping though. They both tripping.
Believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't
Any other hot
racism.
moments?
Now it is racism.
this is
when it
all
was
hot.
time
I said it
there
wasn't.
was no racism.
I
Envy
said it
goes in
wasn't
there.
systemic
I think
racism.
that's a
Let's
little
talk
bit
about.
So what
let's-
are you just hung up on the word system?
Can I just make this point, Charlamagne, please?
Envy's done.
Let's take Chinese Americans. Chinese Americans were the first ethnic group to be excluded with an Immigration Act in the late 1800s. They had riots against Chinese in L.A., in San Francisco. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. I'm in California. California, of course, rounded up Japanese Americans during World War II. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. The average Chinese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for...
You be doctor.
Are you doctor yet?
You
No,
doctor
Dad,
yet?
I'm 12. Come back to me, you doctor.
Come back when you doctor.
A Chinese American or a Japanese American kid to have a child outside of wedlock, and a strong belief in education and a strong belief in entrepreneurship.
He's right. It's the family. Japanese families don't play that.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, kids. Yeah, sure, there's divorce and all that, but every
Blue Moon.
That shame
culture has it. But yeah,
They can't
it's the family
segregate.
dynamic, bro.
They can't do that though.
He's absolutely correct.
These are the kinds of qualities that make people successful.
You can't blame everything on having a fatherless family, right? Because
I didn't say blaming everything.
I know, but that's what you're saying. You're saying a strong community.
No,
But
you said
talk
that's
about
what
the
I just
Asian
said. I didn't
community,
say
but
that.
You talk about the Asian community. Asian community, it's easy for them to get loans for entrepreneurships. It's easy for them to get loans for houses. You look at our community.
Okay.
If you really want to talk about our community, right? You look at the schools in our community. Some of our schools are the worst, right? Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Which
Right,
is why.
they don't have Wi-Fi, don't have education,
Which is
don't
why
have
one
books.
of the reasons I'm running for president is for school choice.
Also, would you say that is in our
That's
community
also
is
systemic. by the way.
it's also in our communities heavy food deserts. There's nothing but fast food places that are just killing and destroying that. Would you say that's true?
Systemic too.
Yep.
Boy.
Would you say that's true? I'm just asking a question.
You said a number of things. I just addressed one of them about loans. In 19.
He's wrong about the loans. There's just as many loans available for blacks as there are Asians because they're both minorities. But he was right about the food. Ain't no good food in the hood, bro.
Yeah,
You know, I
it's always
gotta
fast food.
drive far as shit to get to.
The Whole Foods. Or
Yeah,
something.
and that's a real thing. The fast foods being popped up, McDonald's, Taco Bell,
All in
they're
neighborhoods.
everywhere in
Yeah,
the
they all
hood.
in
That's
Hoods.
systemic.
And that's systemic as well. The schools, that's definitely systemic, bro. You can't go to this school. We deal with that now, bro.
Yeah, right.
You gotta pay big money to go to it.
You gotta live here. You gotta go to work here. You gotta live here in order to
You
go
gotta
to this
make
school.
this
Freak
amount.
that.
You gotta make this amount to get to.
That's
yeah.
bullshit, bro. So, yeah, this is all fire. God dang.
Yeah, I know.
That's
It's
all
like-
we gonna do for
yeah,
now, though.
Yeah.
First
I got
15,
you.
16 minutes of that bad boy,
Yeah,
man.
bro.
Hope you guys like that shit. That shit real, bro.